Hello everyone, welcome to our online session. Today's session we will focus on the concept of multi-threading in Java. Multi-threading, actually the concept seems to be new, but the exact concept behind this threading is not new to us, since we have already studied operating system. If you could remember in last semester when we were discussing about operating system, we will talk about multi-processing means same time only ಮೂರ್ ನಾಲ್ಕು process same time when I can make it to execute, then I call it as multi-process. Same way in Java also, many parts of the program which has to run simultaneously without any disturbance, then we use a concept of multi-threading. If you could remember any computer games and all, see, computer games is a mixture of so many different aspects, like it includes audio file, video file, animation effect, text effect, like so many things are simultaneously it is working together. And when we observe, we look like everything is working together, but it is not together. It is been simultaneously synchronized in such a that we don't feel the difference, that everything is a different file, audio is a different file, video is a different file, animation is a different file, text is a different file, like that we don't feel. Same way in Java, when you want to bring multiple parts of a program run concurrently at the same time, then you need to use a concept called multi-threading. So here multi-threading is a multi-threading is a Java is means the multi-thread program using Java. Okay, so as per the logic of multi-threading programming language, Java is a multi-threading programming language. So we can, that means we can develop a concept of multi-thread using Java. So what is multi-thread means? Multi-thread programs contains two or more parts that can run concurrently, and each parts can handle different tasks at the same time. So two or more parts run concurrently, simultaneously it will run, and each part will handle a different task at the same time with the available resources. When your computer has a multiple CPU, so running a multiple parts of a program at the same time with available resources, we call it as multi-threading. By definition, multitasking is when multiple process shares common processing resources such as CPU. Actually, this term we have quite familiar with multitasking. In operating system, we have seen multi-threading comes under the concept of multitasking. That means same time simultaneously when I can do multiple work, then I can call it as tasking. So multi-threading extends the concept of idea of multitasking operation. With the help of here, what happens to run a simultaneously common parts of a program, we create a single application, that single individual thread, like a single application, and all the link of all the parts will be given to it. So that concept we call it as multi-threading. Each of the thread can run in parallel. That means, see, main application will be as a single mode, like a parent mode. From there, all the sub applications will run simultaneously. So that's the reason they are telling each of the thread can run in parallel. The OS divides processing time not only among the application but also among each thread. So here also the role of OS is important, which not only allow the processing time, not only fixes the processing time, along with that it will give the each thread application the workspace for perform to do the operation. So using this concept of multi-threading programs help us to write a multiple activity which can work concurrently in a same program. See, program is going to be same and multiple activity can be executed simultaneously. This can be done with the help of a concept of multi-threading. With the same program, multiple activity can be focused. That's about the concept of multi-threading. Here, one of the feature of multi-threading which we need to come across is life cycle of a thread. As see, like an multi-process only, which we have studied in operating system. Whenever I have a process, you will have a start. That means process will start, and then every stage. Once a process will be in the queue, once it is ready, then it will enter into the process mode and it will be executing. In case somebody some other process comes and give a request, then the current process will stop and the next process will enter into the thing. This and all we have studied in operating system. Same way in thread also. So what we are going to do, thread is going to be a single application. To the single application, you are going to have a number of activities. So we need to know the life cycle of threads. So life cycle of threads of various stages it has. It has stages like a bond. When I create any new activity, then I call it as a bond. When my activity has to be starts, then I will call a method called start. When my part of a program is running, then I will call the status as run. And once I finish my process, then I will call it as a dice. This I call it as life cycle of thread. So see, when you consider, you create a new thread. As I told, it's a single application. New to the new thread. Whenever you start a process, then it will enter into new mode. And once your process is free and your concurrent, when you need to run, then you will enter into start state. So start stage, you will be ready to execute the program. From the start state, you will enter into a runnable mode where you will execute the program. While executing a program, there are certain time you need to wait for another process to complete. So sometime you might be sent to wait mode or you might be sent to sleeping mode. In that case, you will enter into waiting mode. Yeah, after then one more process might start. It will enter into runnable mode, like that. Once your wait mode is stopped, then you will enter into running mode, and once you finished your activity, you will enter into the dead mode. Like this only life cycle of thread will happen. So one application, multiple program will run with the help of this life cycle. We will see the different roles of life cycle of stages. First is new. So whenever is new means new thread begins its life cycle in the new state. So the purpose of new is to create a new thread in the entire application process, and it remains in the state until the process starts the thread. So until the new thread state will be maintained. Okay, for every activity, new thread is be maintained until you enter into the runnable mode. You will maintain. So that's the reason we call it as bond thread. Then comes a thing, after a newly bond thread is started, once you start executing your parts of the program, then it will enter into a state called runnable. So in this state, we call the whatever activity we are doing, it is called executing its task. This is the place where exact process is being executing. Next comes the waiting. The word itself says, in case any halt is given to your process or any parts of your program, you need to halt and allow the next process to perform the task. In that case, you will enter into a wait state. Next, timed waiting. There are certain times you will be given waiting only, same logic of waiting, but based on specific interval of time, like 5 milliseconds you need to wait. By the time another process will finish. If you could remember round robin and all, no, we will fix the time. Based on the time slice only, we will enter every process to work. Even like that also, time sliced is there. Last is terminated. Once you finish the entire executing the task, then your activity will enter into dead state or terminated state. This is called life cycle of multiprocessing. In this concept, in this thread concept, this life cycle of thread is quite important concept. You need to draw the diagram and you need to explain these points. So how this thread is created in Java? Say as a programming part of it, how it is created. Thread can be created using two ways: by extending thread class. Okay. By extending thread class, that means I can use the concept of inheritance and then I will create a thread, or implementing runnable interface. So I can use a concept of interface, then I can do. So here we can create using inheritance concept or in interface concept, that is by extending thread class. Thread class can be extended from a parent class. I can extend the thread class and do, or I can do using a runnable interface, implementing runnable interface. So the ways to create thread is by extending thread class or by implementing runnable interface. First we will see how we will create the thread class using the first method, thread class. How we can create a thread class? Thread class provide constructors and methods to create and perform operation on the thread, and extends the object class and implement runnable interface. Thread class is built-in class available in Java. So using this thread class also, we can execute the program. So some of the commonly available constructor of thread class, see, these are all we are not creating, it is already existing in the C library itself, not C, Java library itself. To work with threads. So when I need to create a threads, I have an option like thread. This is used to create a thread, or we can go for thread string of name. With the thread name I can give, or when I want to make the thread to a runnable state, then I can make it runnable R, or when I want to thread in a runnable state with the task name or a thing, then I can say runnable R and string name. So some of the commonly used, these are the constructors available for thread class, already existing constructors. Same way, there are a lot of methods available, and some of the methods available for thread class is run. This is to use to perform action for a thread. That means once your process started running, in that time you will call a method called run. When you're going to start a thread, then you start the execution of thread, then you will call a method called start. When you want to send your activity or a process to a sleep mode, then you will call a method called sleep. In case if your activity is in the sleep or wait mode and you want to bring back to the thing, bring back to the runnable mode or the death mode, then you will say wait. Or wait can also be set based on millisecond, and priority, which thread has to be, which activity has to be given priority can be given. Then if you want to know the name of the thread, you can use a method called getName. Then you want to know the ID of the thread, you can use a method called thread ID. When you want to suspend the thread, you can call a method called suspend. When you want to resume the thread, resume. When you want to stop the thread, stop. I say at least 1, 5, 6 method name you remember for this concept. So understand, already in Java there is a class called thread class. Under that you have certain constructors available, methods available. Using this, you can create a thread using these two ways, one using extending thread class and another using runnable interface. So here first we will start with extending thread class. Java thread example by extending thread class. See, just now we saw what is thread class, what are the constructors available and methods available. Using those things we can create. So what we have to do, you need to create a class file and extend, use a word, that means inherit the property of thread class by using a word called extends, multi extends thread. Then here I am giving a run. The purpose of run is when my activity is running, that time I will call a method called run. Here I am printing system.out.println thread is running. Then I have a main method. Here I am creating a object T1 for my class. I am creating an object and then I am telling T dot start. Whenever you, as you know, start means your thread will start. See, as of now, this will be your first beginning of the program, correct? Main method is the beginning of a program. It will come and create an object for this. Then when I say T dot start, immediately my thread would have started. Then it will start means it will take me to the next stage of start is run mode, and it will print thread is running. So your output of a program will be thread is running. Next comes runnable interface. So when you are using thread class is already existing and a set of constructors and methods are also available. We just use those methods and constructors and perform the thread operation. Next comes the concept of runnable how thread class is already existing, same way runnable interface is also already available in Java package. So the purpose is to implement by any class. So runnable interface is used for extending the support for a concept of threads. Okay, to create an instance of thread, we can use a concept called runnable interface. Runnable interface have only one method named run. So in the runnable interface, we'll have a method called run. Purpose of the run method is to perform action for a thread. That means when you're executing the task, it will enter into run state. To start a thread, what we will do, runnable interface does not have any other method. It has only one method called only. It has one method called run. So to start a method, what we will do, we will use the concept of thread class. Thread class is also already existing. No, we will use those concept. We will use the concept of thread class start method. See, start method of the thread class is used to start newly created threads. So start method, which is available in the thread class, will be used here. Then a new thread starts when using the start method, a new thread starts. Thread moves from new state to runnable state, and then it will execute. Run method is available in the runnable interface itself. See the example for this. This is an example for implementing. Here this is a concept of interface, so you need to use the word implements. So here I'm creating a class called multi3 implements runnable is already existing interface in Java JVM. I have a method called run. As we saw, in a runnable interface, we have only one method called run. In that I am printing thread is running. Then your main method is declare, creating a object for your class called multi3. To that object, calling the thread. Why? Because start method is available only in the thread class, not in the runnable interface. So you need to create a object for your thread and call your object here. Okay, see, thread t1 equal to new thread of m1. M1 means this object is being called inside my thread class. Then t1 dot start. So once it starts, it will take me to the run mode, and it will say thread is running, and your output of the program is thread is running. This is how you can implement the thread. Thread can be implemented in two ways. One through threads can be implemented in two ways. One by extending the thread class, and or implementing runnable interface. Okay, two types. Extending the thread class. Thread class is also already available in Java Virtual Machine. We just use it. Same way, implementing runnable interface. This is also already available. We just need to use and perform the task. This is about how we are going to execute the things. Now we will see few syntax of life cycle, a few stages of threads. Like when I start, what will be the syntax? When I stop, what will go? Say every stage, there are many stages in life cycle of thread. We will discuss about few syntax behind those life cycle of thread. First is starting a thread. So once you start a thread, your thread will enter into a born state. So in that things, you will to specify that you're starting a thread, you need to call a method called start. To invoke a start method, first you need to declare the use your to start a thread. We use the following syntax. So my thread t1 equal to new of my thread. Just create an object for your thread, and then you say t1 dot start. This is how we will create. So whatever is going to be your thread name, give thread name object, create an object t1 equal to new of my thread, and then give t1 dot start. This is how we will use starting a thread. Then stopping a thread, same way, stop is to stop performing the action of your thread. It will move your state to the dead state. After that, you cannot go back to the it will stop the process. In that case, your syntax for stop will be t1 dot stop. Then in case you want to block or make your temporarily suspend the activity of your multitasking and other things, then you can use the three concept. One is sleep, that means temporarily making it to go to sleep mode so that other process can run, or suspend means blocking certain activity for a certain period of time, or making it to wait. Since any priority based activity enters, then this has to send to wait, and you need to make this other activity to perform the task. So these are the three methods available for blocking of thread. Sleep is there, suspend is there, wait is there. Next, we need to know about the priorities. Actually, there is a method called get set priority, get priority. That means even in the multitasking, there are certain process which has to be given priority. In that case, how we used to use this priority means we have three constant thread class available in Java. One is called MIN, minimum priority, NORM, normal priority, and maximum priority. Based upon the priority values, the thread will, in case minimum priority means I will give the value 1, maximum priority I will set it as 10, normal priority I will set it as 5. So when I set my priority as 10, whatever is the number of activities is there, only for that the value which priority is 10 will be given importance. See here why one example is you are watching some video in the phone, but when you get a call, your video has been stopped and priority is given for the call. Once you answer the call, priority is given for the call. That is the concept of priorities. Importance given, that means one activity is halted and another activity is being given importance. Once you finish answering the call, once you cut, immediately your video will start. That means your current activity is going to wait state, and the new activity is given importance. That priority can be set with these three classes. These values sometime will be asked in 2 marks. So what is the priority values of thread? Okay, not so important, but we have an option. So if we want to know the priority values, one simple example I have placed it here. The name of the class file is test priority, and anyway you need to use the thread class. Here I am using the thread class method to do this. I am telling using a method called run, then trying to get the name of the thread and also the priority. So here I am having an object M1, creating an object M2. In M1, I am setting a minimum priority. In M2, I am setting maximum priority, starting M1 and starting M2. So once I run the program, initially thread is 0. The maximum priority will print it as 10. Minimum priority will print my value as 1. Okay, see, thread name is 0. Maximum priority only will work run first. So the thread priority is 10. Then thread next name for the thread is thread 1, and the minimum priority is 1. Okay. Next concept is synchronization. Synchronization means simultaneously I have a capacity to control my thread and the shared resources. In the same time, when I can do multitasking without any disturbance, then I call it as synchronization. Using the concept of thread, we can achieve the concept of synchronization in Java. See the definition. Synchronization is Java is the capability to control the access of multiple thread. Multiple thread activities, to control the activities of multiple thread to any shared resources. So the one activity should not dominate over the other activity. So equal importance should be given for all the threads. So to control the access of multiple thread to any shared resources, we use a concept of synchronization. Java synchronization is a better option when we can allow only one thread to access the shared resources. Okay, one thread alone is accessing the shared resources, then this synchronization will be a better option. But in case if you have multiple thread, not one thread, multiple thread, simultaneously your resources has to be shared. Means how you are going to allocate the resources for a multiple activity is taken care under concept of thread synchronization. So why we need the concept of this synchronization is to prevent thread interference and also to prevent consistency problem. If you could remember, in operating system we would have studied the concept of deadlock, when multiple process trying to contact the when multiple process trying to when multiple process trying to contact the same resources at the same time, sometime one process will depend on another process will depend on another process, like that, then it will lead to deadlock. Same way here, thread interference will happen. What will happen? One thread will be waiting for one resources, by the time another thread will be trying to get access for the same resources, then what will happen? Interference will happen. So to avoid this interference and also to prevent the consistency problem, like a deadlock, the simultaneous running will go off. See, one person is dependent on another, one activity, one thread is depending on another resources, then the wait state will be more. Once one thread is waiting and all other thread has to be put to a halt mode. So it might lead to a deadlock or it will lead to the consistency problem. To avoid that, we use a concept of synchronization. In Java, there are two types of synchronization. One is process synchronization, another is thread synchronization. Process based synchronization also is there, thread based synchronization also is there. Understand why we need the synchronization concept? Single thread ಅಲ್ಲಿ program execute ಮಾಡುವಾಗ shared resources, when we have to share the resources, it won't be having a problem. For example, see, you're in your phone, you're just watching one video. So video means it will, would have used your mobile data. If it's an online video, you would have used your mobile data, that is a resource for it. It would have used your audio, it would have used your speaker, so many resources it would have used, and it was playing. That won't be a problem at all. But simultaneously, while watching only, I want to play video from WhatsApp. So another video, or you want to play a video from your YouTube, so another process is starting. That process also need your online mobile data, your audio connection, your speaker, and other thing. Able to understand? That is called resources. On the process madake, what and all resources it utilizes. See, only process madvaga, it won't be a problem, but multiple things is trying to do, then what will happen? It will lead to a deadlock or interference will happen. One voice should not overlap with another thing. So to avoid that, we need a concept of thread synchronization. So multiple thread resources share ಮಾಡುವಾಗ, to control the activity, we use a concept called thread synchronization. It can be of two types. One is process synchronization, another is thread synchronization. This thread synchronization can be handled with two concepts. One is through mutual exclusive. You remember, even in deadlock, we will see, sir, how to avoid deadlock means we can avoid using a mutual exclusion, mutual understanding. Nan madvaga, you be in the wait state. When other process running, my process should be in the wait state. Like mutual understanding you can have, or inter-thread communication, or different threads can communicate with each other and adjust with each other, and you can process the things. So thread synchronization, see, there are two things: process synchronization and thread synchronization. In that, thread synchronization can be done using two types. One is using mutual exclusion and inter-thread communication. So when you talk about mutual exclusion, you will have a synchronized method, synchronized block, static synchronization, and cooperation. Mutual means mutual understanding between threads should prevail. So for that, what you will have, your method should be, all the method used in the thread should be synchronized, simultaneously synchronized, so that you can avoid interference, or the synchronized block should be maintained, and also the cooperation among the threads should be prevailed. This and all I'm not teaching in detail because it's not frequently asked in this examination. So I don't want to go into detail and make the things. Just understand, when I want to do thread synchronization, two ways of handling thread synchronization, 2 marks question is asked, you should know the answer. It is mutual exclusive and inter-thread communication. uh, then one more concept is there. This is called concept of lock in Java. Lock means how I can control when I'm running with a multiple activity. When I'm working with a multiple activity, how I can control the, how can synchronize the process. That means multiple thread, to how I can organize the program in a synchronized way. That can be done with the help of a concept called lock. If you could remember, in operating system, we have studied about a concept called monitors. Monitors means multiple process run ಮಾಡುವಾಗ to make instead to avoid the system being sent in a deadlock, we will have a system called monitor. That monitor will identify which process is running, which process should be in the wait state, which process should be in the dead state, which process should be. The same way in Java also, to avoid this interference within the multiple threads, we can use a concept called lock. Okay, that is about this concept of lock. This is about the this much we have covered under the concept of multi-threading. So today's session we started with the concept of multi-threading. So here focus has to be given for define what is multi-threading, commonly asked question. Then you need to know about life cycle of thread, that is very very important, and the ways of handling creating a thread by two methods, by extending class and also by implementing runnable interface. These are the question which is commonly asked under the concept of threads. Okay, so 3 questions you will concentrate. What is called multi-threading? Next, what is a thread? Write a notes on the concept of thread. That question will be there. Then life cycle of threads. That is another question. Commonly asked is life stages of threads. Next question is the ways to create a thread. Two ways are there. One is creating using extending thread class, and also through implementing runnable interface. Okay, this is about the concept of threads. Go through the video. It's just quite a big video, but try understanding the concept, and we will meet in our next session. Thank you. Have a nice day.